Good afternoon and a warm welcome. You're watching day 2 of the second event in the Supreme Pool Series. You're watching a winner's side round 2 game between Phil Harrison and Chris Melling. And on paper, this promises to be an absolute crackerjack. I've been looking forward to this game all day. Chris Melling won the lag by some margin. Phil nearly went all the way back down the table. He ended up across the halfway line, so he's not quite got used to the pace of the table yet. But this is first time he's played on it in this event. Chris played on it yesterday, joined by Gaz Potts on commentary. Afternoon, Gaz.
Hello.
Gaz, do you think the fact that Chris played on this table yesterday and Phil's new into this arena, is it going to have any advantage for Chris?
Yeah, 100% it has to. Because this table does play a lot different to any of the other tables. Everyone that's played on it has said that it's definitely more responsive and it's definitely quicker. So it's definitely going to be an advantage to Chris, the fact that he's already played a match, and because when a table is so quick, especially the English 8 ball with the light cue ball, it's when the table's so quick and responsive, you're almost scared to hit the ball sometimes. And I was just talking to Gillespie actually just on the way through, and he was just sort of saying how bad he felt he'd played, but he just said the table was so responsive that he felt like he was just sort of getting hold of the cue ball too much, and then he had it in his head that he needed to take some off it, and then he ended up just decelerating. And to be fair, that is what happens.
So Chris Melling got the first frame underway, and he's on a clearance.
Well, that's what happens. Yeah, that's what happens with Chris sometimes, though. Okay, you can argue that that's a bit unlucky, but there was no need to clatter into those balls that hard. No. He sort of just nonchalantly screwed into the 2 balls. He meant to hit, obviously, one full ball. He caught him in the middle, and the cue ball squeezed through the gap. And for me, that's a bad shot. Okay, you can argue that maybe he's a bit unlucky for it to trickle behind the red, but he should never have been finding the gap, and he should never have been going into him at that pace.
And Chris just trying to work out the angle, but even if he pots this, it's hard to see how he's going to get any kind of shot on the last yellow. I mean, he needs to play this with pace. Oh, he's played it.
Yeah, and I think he aimed exactly there. He just expected that to slide a lot, and to be honest, I expected that to slide a little bit more than it did.
But what was the plan there, Gav?
At that pace? There wasn't a plan, was there? There was just to hit it. Even if he pots it,
he's snookered, isn't he?
Yeah, it was just, I think, to hit it and probably keep it in play. And like you say, if he pots it, then he's in even more trouble. But
yeah. I
don't think he could see another option.
As I said, this is our first look at Phil Harrison, who was fairly breezed for his first couple of matches. Beat Matt Brearley in the first round, 11 frames to 1, I think it was. And we heard Matt on commentary in the last game saying he was sublime. Just had about 7 breaking dishes. His nickname, the Farmer. He's 44 years old. He's got 2 kids, George and Lucy. Doesn't know who made his cue, but he bought it about 15 years ago for 75 quid. Outmaster tip with a 9mm size. An absolute plethora of results, achievements and accolades. 2009 world champion, runner-up in 2011, 2017, and also you can add to that 2018 runner-up. Do you think, I mean, Phil has had a massive amount of success on the tour. But do you think he's underachieved, given his talent, his ability, his longevity in world titles, or is it just because of the era that he's played through?
I think the era was a big part of it, in all fairness. I mean, he got to, what, sort of 2 or 3 of those finals after the sort of split, if you like, and I don't mean this in a way, but he was sort of for a long time on the tour, he was a little bit of like the bridesmaid. He had a bit of the sort of clincher's disease, where he was losing in semi-finals and finals, and yeah, he was ultra consistent, but he did go through a spell for quite a few years where he was losing in semis and especially finals. Recently, he sort of put all that to bed with all the wins that he's had on the tour, and obviously he did eventually get the world title. But I think his CV could read a hell of a lot better had some of those finals been turned into wins.
Sorry guys, just to let you know that we've got a problem with a lot of our cameras. A lot of the cameras have crashed and we're only left with 2. So what we're going to do a very quick restart. You won't miss any of the action because we're just going to get the referee just to pause the match for a few seconds. It'll literally take about 1 or 2 minutes and we'll be back live. So you're going to see us disappear, and we'll be back live in just a couple of minutes after we've restarted. And as I say, you won't miss a second of the action. See you very shortly.
Frame 2, filter break, leading by 1 frame to nil. Time running.
So apologies for that short delay, but we're back up and running with the full camera setup. We didn't want to continue with the coverage with a limited production. So, if you've just joined us in the last few minutes, you've missed very little. This is Phil Harrison versus Chris Melling. On the winner's side, round 2. Chris Melling had a really good opportunity in the first frame, but just a slightly unfortunate roll, and he snookered himself, and Phil Harrison pounced. And Chris is just showing a little fly on the table, something that's taken his attention, so he stepped away. He's on his extension already, so he needs to be careful here. Doesn't want to be racing this shot. Changed his mind 3 or 4 times, and as I say, deep into his time, and now he's got 10 seconds.
5, 4.
pressure was on as well when you got the referee counting down the last few seconds. We are streaming 4 games. The Seb Webb Declan Brennan games ended. That went hill. Seb Webb was always in charge of that, and Declan Brennan ended up winning 8 frames to 7. So he's going to carry the bragging rights from that game into their upcoming money match. There's some incredible lineups in this round on the winner's side. Not just this one, you've also got Ben Davis against Gareth Hibbert. Gareth Hibbert has flown out of the blocks and he's 3-0 up. Sean Chipperfield against Stevie Dempsey. Stevie Dempsey's 3-1 up. Rob Chilton against Jordan Church. That will be a really intriguing game. Great lineup there. 2 super players. That's currently locked together at 2-all. Another one that's of great interest is Jason Shaw against Carl Sutton. And of course Mick Hill back in action. He's playing Craig Lakin, and he's currently 4-0 up against Craig. So again, flown out the blocks. And the last one there is Yannick Beaufils against Craig Brown, and they're 1 apiece. But we're focused on this game, and Chris a little bit unlucky, to be honest. Phil broke dry, and Chris didn't really have a decent opener. He's trying to play a long yellow off the red, trying to open the bag at the same time, and he's left Phil with this really presentable chance to go 2-0. And Phil just doesn't make mistakes when he's in amongst the balls like this. We were talking to Mark Farnsworth earlier about being clinical. Well, Phil's one of the most clinical around in open play, isn't he, Gaz?
Yeah, and you know, I was just going to say, as you were saying that, it was the commentator's curse again, because the shot before, he played a bad shot. He left himself bridging over the red and dead straight. And he wanted to obviously be a little bit further on so he could pop both of these yellows into the left middle. Even though he finished straight, it was okay. He could just top through, and he's tried to top through there and got a kick.
But you see the reaction from Phil. It looks like someone's just shot his mum. He looks absolutely mortified, but he's still.
But I wouldn't read too much into that, because he could look like that when he's absolutely dead straight.
I know. Matt Briley was saying the same thing. He said he dished 7 frames and never looked happy during one single one of them. He's still in pretty good shape. You expect him to run out here. Okay, it's not perfect, but I think he's just okay. Yeah, no shake of the head, so he's absolutely okay. He can just.
He'll screw up and get the cue ball somewhere near the other middle pocket. But it was just a side. Yeah. Either way, it's going to be 2-0. And when you do miss chances, like I said, mentally it is very different to if you don't miss chances and you're 2-0 down or you're behind. There's a different mindset.
The perfect start for Phil Harrison. This is exactly how it would have played out in his mind earlier. A couple of early mistakes from Chris, and he's pounced and gone 2-0, and here's the scores from the other games. Craig Lakin's managed to get himself on the board now. You already fear for Craig at 4-1 down.
Interesting match there. Jason Shaw, Carl Sutton. They had Jason Shaw favourite in that match, and not necessarily saying that price is wrong, but if I had to back somebody in that match, I think I would choose to back Carl. There's probably not too much in it, but they did have Shaw favourite.
Ben Rowland against Liam Dunster. That one recently got underway. Liam leads 2 frames to 1. Ben sporting his spangly shoes. I just noticed he was walking past a minute ago.
Amazing break there from Chris. If you watch the way he hit that, he drove down. That's what we call driving down through the bed of the table. He kept the cue down, pushed the cue almost through to the blue spot and drove it through the cloth. He lost no power sort of up towards the ceiling. And
power and timing, and as I mentioned yesterday when he was on commentary, he was watching that Shane Thompson break and saying maybe he might just try and take a bit off, but he's having none of it.
He didn't take any off that.
No, that was full 100%.
And what does tend to happen a lot of the time when you've made a couple of mistakes and you're losing, even though he has made a ball, they're not gimmies. He's got a bit of work to do on either set.
Do we know, did you notice at all how Jed had priced this one?
No, I didn't, to be honest. I would imagine it would have been pretty close. Maybe had Phil slight favourite. I don't know.
That was my that was my thoughts before. I would have just shaded Phil.
Obviously he's going to pop the red over the middle and screw into him, but the yellow that's over the right corner is a problem. Don't get that shot. Don't get that shot because, yes, they all go, but canning it into that, yes, he's on the left red into the top right corner, but it's a real tough shot to get back to pot the other red into the left corner, which is the only pocket that goes into. So he does play a lot of clever shots, Chris. He doesn't just clatter into balls. He does work it out, and he is a very clever player. He does play a lot of little clever cannons and nudges, but sometimes you do have to go into him, and I think that was probably one of the times where I think he could have tried to work out some sort of cannon, because this is a tough shot now.
Okay, I'll just manage to find the odds.
This is a bit of an operation. This.
Yeah, it is. Both players 5 to 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably.
I don't know what the. See, these guys would have played each other loads of times years ago, but they wouldn't have played each other too much. Obviously, recently, with round of applause there for the ref. That it's like a surgical procedure there to get the back off. Yeah, they wouldn't have played each other too much recently because Chris hasn't really played any English 8-ball, and it's strange how when you're playing certain players that you sometimes have a good record against certain players, top players, and others are a little bit of a bogey player. I'm not too sure what the head-to-head record would be between these two, but if I had to have a bet on it, you see that he missed that because obviously he was trying to create an angle, you see, to get the cue ball on the other side of the table. Yeah, if I had to have a bet on it, I would say that Chris would be ahead on the head-to-head, just because of the style of play. And obviously, back in the day when everyone was playing, obviously Chris was really attacking. He still plays similar, but I just feel like his style of play would maybe sort of frighten Phil a little bit. But it'd be interesting to find out that stat actually. Chris can be quite intimidating to play against when he rattles frames off quite quickly. He makes some of the pots look a lot easier than they are, and when he's in full flow, he is great to watch. And it goes without saying, an unbelievable shot maker.
Yeah.
Probably the one of the best shot makers I've ever seen.
It's a real contrast in styles, really, isn't it? Because Phil much more measured, takes a lot more time working out his route, and he's not one just to, as you can see now, he's just doing a little circumnavigation of the table and just pulls a little grimace because something's not quite. It's probably about 2 mil to the left of where he wanted it. But that's part of what makes him the character and the player he is. But, whereas, I mean, Chris would have already been down, and well, he'd have been halfway through the clearance by now, wouldn't he? Probably have finished the clearance.
Well, he'd either finished the clearance or he'd missed the clearance. You know,
yeah,
that's sort of what you get with Chris, to be fair.
Yeah. I was interested in how the bookie priced that Shaw Sutton game as well, because I don't think it's going to be very much between those two.
Yeah, that's what I was just saying before. They had Shaw favourite, didn't they? What?
Yeah, 1 to 2.
That's what I mean. I was quite a big favourite, so for me that's the wrong price.
Yeah.
It is 2 each that match at the minute, but
Carl Sutton, you know, a great player, great opponent, and also he's going to have the advantage with the rules, isn't he?
So that means what, Sutton was 6 to 4, was he?
He was, yeah, 6 to 4.
Yeah, I would much rather be on Sutton at 6 to 4 in that match than Shaw at 1 to 2. It doesn't necessarily mean he's going to win, but I do think that was priced wrong. Phil's patterns have always been very good, and he's gone about these in the correct way because he's left himself the ball over the hole. That means that he can't not have a shot on the black. You see, he's playing this with a bit of left-hand side. I'm not sure why he's playing this with left-hand side. Couldn't have played it better either way, and Phil looks solid. Chris looks shaky and Phil looks solid. And he couldn't really be playing against the worst person when he's making mistakes, because
Phil's just going to pounce.
Phil's just going to punish every mistake he makes and do it in his methodical way and sort of not annoy Chris, but you know it's.
But it will, because Chris is the kind of player who just wants to get on with the rest of the match. If he's going to lose this frame, just lose it quickly so he can get on with the next one and get back to the table. And Phil just going through his slow, methodical game, and it'll just start to get under Chris's skin, maybe.
I think the fact that they've played 3 frames and Chris has had 3 chances in all 3 frames will maybe get under his skin a little bit more.
Yeah.
Frame 4, Phil to break, leading by 3 frames to 0.
Carl O'Donoghue's 4-0 up against Tony Halpin. And Dean Richardson 4-0 up against Ian Alley.
Gareth Hibbert 4-1 up against Ben Davis also.
Jordan Church has beaten Rob Chilton 4-2. In fact, I think that's probably one of the only games which is going against the bookie at the moment. The bookie priced up Cheltenham's the favourite. I think most of the other favourites are winning. No, Yannick was favourite against Craig Brown. He's 3-2 behind. Harjeet Singh, who's had a pretty good weekend so far, he's trailing 4-1 to John McAllister. Harjeet, of course, knocked out, was it Tom? I think he knocked out Tom Cousins. Or pushed him to the loser's side, should I say. So,
great shot from Chris.
Yeah, potted one of each as well, so still open table.
He will go yellows. He's gone reds, and I didn't see it. So the one that he's closest to the left of the cue ball, he can pot that, and he can maybe kick his bad ball off the side rail in the same shot.
10 seconds. Extension.
I'd personally go yellows here, but because I think he can pot the one into the corner and then just drop onto the one into the middle, or play onto it into the other middle or corner first shot. Tried to play my shot, got hold of the cue ball a little bit too much. Knew he'd always be on this ball into either the corner or the middle, but having missed the cannon, it makes the finish a lot trickier now.
Yeah. I see players often seem to have a fairly unhealthy obsession with trying to move balls off rails. You see some players, they'll compromise on all kinds of position, maybe compromise on their next pot just to move a ball off a rail, but actually these tables, they don't pop too bad down the rail.
No, it's a good point. It's a good point, and that's the way I play. I don't move balls unless I really, really have to. I would play to land on balls more. I just think in that instance he had the angle that was perfect, and he obviously didn't play to land there. But
yeah,
but yeah, especially the top players, they don't really move balls unless you need to. And you're right, especially on these brand new tables that have a brand new cloth, the pockets do play bigger because they're sliding off the knuckles. There isn't anything to worry about if you've got a ball on the rail.
not what was planned, but
Well,
he's got away with it a bit, hasn't he?
No, I think it was what was planned, Nick, to be
was it?
honest. Yeah, I think he played it up there knowing he's either going to be on it into this corner or he's going to be on it into the middle.
Yeah.
I don't think it could have really gone. Yeah, he has landed absolutely perfect, but I don't really see how it could have gone wrong. Chris did shake his head as if, well, that was lucky, but
Yeah.
it wasn't lucky.
He played that.
He played it. He played to land on it in either the left middle or this bottom left corner, and that's exactly where he's landed. He played to land exactly there. So he's going to pop the one to the left, cue ball off the left cushion, over back to the right, and then he's going to pop the left one of those two into the same pocket as he's taking this. So you can see somewhere just to the right hand side of his hand. Perfect. I say perfect. He got a big bounce off the side rail, and now he's left himself on the off angle where he's either going to have to screw on and off the side cushion or play a little nudge into the yellow.
Looks to be fairly natural just to nudge into it, doesn't it? I mean, can't really go wrong, can it? Just push it. As long as he cannons full ball, he's going to push it towards the pocket.
You can't exactly see the angle, but No, I think he can't really go wrong if he just bumps into it, but he has got an option of screwing on and off the side cushion also. Like that.
Yeah.
And now he is perfect. Screw back in a straight line.
We are looking ominous already at 4-0.
And it's 4-0, and like I said before, it's not only how it's 4-0, it's sort of the way it's become 4-0 with Chris missing 4 chances, and
Yeah.
mentally it's difficult knowing that on another day you could be 4-0 up.
Gareth Hibbett's extended his lead against the current IPA World Champion Ben Davis. He's 5-1. I have heard recently from a couple of people that Ben's been struggling a bit with the rules, which surprises me because Ben did used to play world rules. He should know them fairly intimately.
And he did beat me in the final of a big event, an invitation event in Ireland that we used to play in. I think we played in it 3 or 4 times that Ronnie Boyle used to organise. It was a big event. A lot of the top snooker players used to play in it, and all of the top English 8-ball players at the time used to play. And he did beat me in a final of that one of the years, and that was world rules. He actually, he actually takes out a stupid finish against me in the deciding frame of that match. If any of you bored and want to take a look at that on YouTube, it is a pretty impressive finish considering I think it was the deciding frame.
Yeah, I was going to say Jordan Church is now 6-2 up on Rob Chilton. That'll be a surprise result for some people.
Not for me. Not for me. I would have had Jordan favourite in that match. I'm not sure what the prices were, but I would have had Jordan favourite. I think he's got much more firepower, and when he gets it going, and he has got a big break, when he gets it going, Jordan's capable of blowing anybody away. Yeah. And he's definitely capable of winning this tournament, Jordan.
Oh yeah. I rate Jordan very highly. Chilton was 4-7, and Church was 5-4.
Well, that's for me again. That's the wrong price. That's definitely the wrong price for me. Jordan Church can win this tournament, and to be honest, I don't think Rob Chilton at this minute in time can win the tournament. That's in my opinion.
John Rowe continuing to reel back the years. He's 5-2 up against Toby Bolt.
Yeah, I was talking to John as well. He's a nice lad and sort of very down to earth, and he is a very good player and quite deceiving when you see him on the cue. He doesn't look nothing sort of flash really, but very effective and makes very little mistakes. And he's also another sort of really dangerous player, and he's a lot sort of better than he looks really. Once again, Chris is here having to go for a finish on reds that you would expect to get, but they can be missed.
Yes, it is tricky.
So it's all about getting good. So he's going to take these 2 at the top of the table first, obviously now, and then it's all about getting a good angle on his penultimate red to either run through, and it doesn't really matter which pocket he plays the last red in, which is on the bottom rail, because it's in the middle of the cushion really. It just depends on where he gets the cue ball, but I think he'll be playing them both into the bottom right corner. He'll definitely be playing them both into the bottom right corner now. So this is one of those little shots where Chris has obviously got a fantastic cue action. You hit it softly, get the cue ball to bite, and he didn't hit it softly, and he didn't get the cue ball to bite. He actually decelerated and didn't get any screw in it. He just played it as a plain ball shot in the end when he tried to screw it. And that's what happens when you're under a little bit of pressure and you've missed some chances. Happens to everybody, including someone like Chris with the cue action that he's got. One of them horrible situations again where he doesn't want to pot the red because he's still snookered. So it's one of those that at World Rules it's not. Oh dear, I'm not sure about this one. I think just come across and bump it over the pockets the shot here, Chris.
Yellow balls in play.
Yeah, I think he had to just come off the side rail, the right side cushion, and bump the red over to the left pocket. And at World Rules, if he gets that over the pocket, then he's still more than within the frame. You know, you can't just go, when you make a mistake, you can't just go giving the frame away, and that's exactly what he's done here. This is going to be 5-0 in a couple of minutes. But it does happen. Everybody has the bad days at the office, and obviously everyone knows how awesome Chris can be. And everybody does have those bad days. Things just fall awkward, you make mistakes. Sometimes there's no explaining it.
Yeah, Chris played beautifully on stream yesterday. We haven't seen him recreate any of that form yet. But, maybe it's still there for him at 5-0 down. He can't be written off, but it's a long hill back.
Of course he can still win from 5-0. You know, he can still win from 8-0 down, but you know, he's not playing against someone that's going to hand it to him.
No, Phil just. I mean, you're always reliant from 5-0 down. You're relying on people's mistakes, and Phil just doesn't make many mistakes.
He's got the cue ball under control now, and you asked the question to me, Nick, at the start. Do you think think it'd be an advantage, the fact that Chris had always played on this table? And I said it would. And the way it's gone so far, and the way that Phil has controlled the cue ball, and the way that Chris hasn't controlled the cue ball, you'd think it was the other way around.
Yeah, a few people have struggled with the pace on here. Mark Farnsworth put a post up yesterday after his loss, saying that you know, he'd struggled with the pace and the bounce of the table. Phil settled straight away.
Yeah, but this is our TV table. You know, the main arena table. That's how it should play. It should play quick. It should play nippy. It should play responsive. And in any tournament, even, you know, at the snooker, you know, the American pool, the match table, the TV table, the arena table, wherever it is, always plays different to the outside tables, and that's the way it is, and it's the way it's always been. And Chris will have played enough big matches in his time. Don't worry about that, to know that the match table plays differently.
Dean Richardson is 6-0 up against Ian Alley. And that's some scoreline. Ian's a great player.
Gaz Royds and Ryan Pisani. Sorry, I don't really know either of those, but Gaz Royds is 5-0 up. Obviously, that is the third round of the winner's side, so.
Adam Davis 5-2 up on Arfin Dad. Arfin's had a good weekend so far. He's been playing well. Harjeet Singh 5-2 down against John McAllister. Lakin has put another frame up, but Mick's won a couple and he's 7-2 up now.
Carl Sutton is 4-2 down now to Jason Shaw. What did I know? Maybe that price was right.
And Jordan Schurtz 7-2 against Rob Chilton. Gareth Hibbert 6-1 still against Ben Davis.
Chris is having a bit of a moan there to one of his mates in the crowd or whatever, because obviously Phil's broke dry there.
Well, that's the second time.
And he's left him sort of, I wouldn't say no first shot, but he's left him a tougher first shot than he could have. And you see Phil's just got that sort of I don't know what the look is. He has that sort of just snigger, that naughty little sort of snigger about him, where he knows that he knows that Chris is annoyed, shall we say, and he's just got that little bit of a sort of snigger, as if to say, "I've got you on the ropes here."
Yeah, I think that was kind of escalated slightly, because it's at least the second time that Phil's broke dry and pretty much left Chris nothing.
In all fairness, obviously, you know, let's be honest, we know that See, and exactly the same's happened here again. Chris has now got the wrong set of balls.
Yeah.
Chris has had to go for the wrong set of balls again, and like I was just going to say, although he has obviously made a mistake, I think in all of the frames so far, he has fell awkward for him, and he has had to take the wrong suit of balls most of the time.
That's a nice shot.
It's a nice shot, and I thought these were too close together. I didn't think this was a plant, but obviously it is. It's a dead set plant actually. So
now this is a great chance, and one you'd expect him to get.
First two pots were good though, to be fair.
Yeah.
Everything for being too far here, nothing for being too short, because they both go into the right corner. So I did say everything for being too long, and he's actually too short, but you can just nip past it.
Yeah. And this is what I was talking about, the contrast in styles. I mean, once he's in amongst the balls, he just fairly flies through them.
Yeah, he does, but that was a lot out of frustration, really,
Yeah.
than that he wouldn't, you know, if the score there was sort of 8 each or 9 each, first to 11 there, he wouldn't have played through them quite as quick. It was a bit of frustration.
Frame 7, Chris to break, trailing by 5 frames to 4. Time running.
Give a shout out to Pepsi, who's watching over in the Middle East. Thanks for the kind words. Glad you're enjoying the event so far. Always tunes in. Loves his pool. So, with Phil, who has been struggling with his break so far in the match, if Chris can find another gear and just eradicate his mistakes, he has got a way back in. I mean, as I say, Phil's not been breaking particularly well, so if Chris can find a dish here and then pick up on another dry break, he's by no means out of this yet.
No, and he'll be keeping the ball that's over the left middle, and he'll be playing the cannon to cannon his bad ball out with the other one, the other yellow that's over the top right corner as we look. That's definitely the way. So he's going to pot this one. He's then going to pot the one into the right corner, screw off the top cushion, maybe 2 cushions ideally, and kick it from the side rail is the way. But even if it direct from one cushion is okay. But he'll definitely be keeping the one over the middle.
Yeah.
Because that means that he's always going to be guaranteed to land on that. So he's now going to play the shot that I said. He's done the same again. He's not got into it, you know. He's struggling. Just decelerated a little bit, and he actually ended up playing it plain ball again.
Yeah, this is a problem there.
You see, I mean, there was everything again there for getting hold of it too much, because really you wanted to hit top cushion. If you can find the gap between the red and the yellow and hit the side cushion.
Has he got another angle here? The trouble is he's coming at it from the bottom, isn't he? It's
and it is world rules, don't forget, so he can't pot one of the reds accidentally. which is something I do like about the world rules. When you're going for the finish, I do think they're more skillful because you can't accidentally knock your opponent's ball in. I think that is the one plus point of them.
Trusting a bit to luck. He got it.
And I did say a few frames ago that Chris Melling is probably the best shot maker I've ever seen.
That was a super, super shot.
He is great to watch.
Brilliant. What a great clearance.
But,
Okay.
you know, it's one of those things where he hit the cue balls all around the world again a little bit, and yet he made a finish that should have just been routine.
Yeah.
Look like a finish off the planet.
Yeah.
Here's the shot again. Played to hit exactly like that, side cushion first. Chris has got the towel over his face, and I'd just like to let you all know that I do actually clean my balls with that towel. The ball's on the Chinese table, that is. He asked me for a cloth earlier. And that's the ball, that's the cloth that
he's rubbing his face.
that I clean my balls with on the Chinese table.
It would have been far more entertaining if it was the other set of balls that you clean. I would have loved to have pictured Chris Melling with that towel on his face. That's a memory that'll
I
stick
just get
with me.
this nice warm feeling every time I see him put that cloth over his head.
Oh, dear me. Ian Alley's won a couple of frames anyway. He's 6-2, 6-2 behind now. Tony Halpin's fighting back against Carlo Donohue's 4-0 down. It's 4-2 now. Gareth Hibbert, 6-2 now. Ben Davis has won a frame. Stevie Dempsey is making a big comeback there. 6-5 up against Sean Chipperfield. Rob Chilton's won the next couple of frames, and he currently trails by 7 frames to 4. Jason Shaw and Carl Sutton, 4 frames apiece.
I think Shaw was 2-0 there, and Carl came back to 2-all, and he went 4-2. Now back to 4-all.
Liam Dunster looking like he could go all the way again. 6-2 up against Ben Rowland. Who put it past him going one step further and winning this one?
Yeah, he's just really solid at the minute, isn't he? He just doesn't do nothing stupid, and a little bit like Phil, really, I suppose. Really, really sort of methodical, but just everything that you're supposed to, every finish that you're supposed to get, he gets, and plays all the right shots. And over a period of time, that's going to count for a lot.
Again, as previously mentioned, Phil, his cue ball control is exemplary. He's just got a fantastic economy of cue ball, and it's, I know I've said it before on commentary, I'd love to be able to measure the distance a cue ball travels over, 10 frames of Phil Harrison against, somebody who's much more of a flair player.
The exact what you're saying, the exact example was that last finish from Chris, wasn't it? The cue ball was all around the world, and he was, and just as you said that though, Nick, it is the commentator's curse again. He has just landed on top of the red, but I think he is okay.
I'm always doing it.
I think he can get through to
but he's always he's picking his route around the table. He's just picking the shortest route around there. The cue ball just travels the shortest amount of space compared to so many other players. You know, someone like a Lakin, for example, who just, you know, the cue ball's travelling everywhere, which is obviously the best way to be. If you can just the less distance you have to cover with that cue ball, the less chance you have of making a mistake. He's going to have to go up and down the table here, though.
Yeah, but he's left the perfect natural angle. He's just guaranteed to finish in the gap of those two yellows.
Yeah. He's fine. He was just giving it a...
Yeah, he just didn't play it with any side.
Yeah.
He just needed a trace of right-hand side, but...
it almost felt like he played it just slightly thinner than he meant into the middle bag.
Yeah, that's a good point. He could have actually potted it a bit thicker with no side.
Playing from the cushion, but there won't be any dramas here. It's about as simple as it gets for a player of Phil's quality. And that little charge that Chris was going on, he puts a stop to that, re-establishes a 4-frame lead, and he leads 6 frames to 2. Gaz-Royds is now 7-0 against Ryan Pisani. And Ryan Pisani, he put Eddie Barker into the loser's side in the first round, and Eddie is very good stick. He's working his way through the loser's side today. Been playing really well. I watched him earlier. So
Eddie was professional when I turned professional, or certainly when not too long after my sort of pro debut. He's been around for a long time, and
yeah.
I think he disappeared for a while and hasn't played anything as far as I'm aware for a while, and not sure how long he's been back, but I think he did get to the semi-finals of the EPA event a few weeks ago, the World Championships. Once again, Chris has made a ball, and he's not got the easiest of first shots again.
No hesitation in nominating yellows.
Yeah, and he has to pot this to be on it. It's world rules, so he hasn't made one off the break. Potted it like it was over the hole, though.
Powered that in. Is he going to look to move that red at some time, or do you think he'll just try and land on the...
I think he'll try and land on it, but I think there was a case for playing it just. I think he could have played it the shot before then.
Can he not just screw him behind the red here? Just
yeah, maybe just
move
bump
the
it
red
out of the way a little bit.
Just like so, yeah.
That huge backswing that he's got, and it nearly went a little. Oh, well, he's just looked around at me and sort of. But I think he's done I think he can just flip around it with a bit of side. And what happens when you fall out of position? Sometimes it snowballs, and the next one then becomes a little trickier. He can play this off the red though, maybe, if he wants, which allows him to screw the cue ball back straighter.
He's tried to nick a bit of the bag.
Well,
yeah, he tried to steal a bit of the bag, and that's cost him. And he's left Phil pretty much perfect on, well, I say perfect, but you can expect Phil to get this one down the rail, one of the difficult balls. slightly more negative player may just try and move that one off the top rail and snooker in behind the two reds. Is there value in that, do you think, or are you going for the out here?
No, I'm going. I'm going. He doesn't necessarily have to play the one that he's closest to now if he doesn't want. He can put the one over the right middle.
Yeah.
But he may choose to play this as a little bit of a shot to nothing and stun the cue ball back over to the right-hand side of the table. See, like this.
Yeah.
He played that as a shot to nothing. He obviously he's underhit it a little bit, but he played to get the cue ball on the side cushion there, which meant that he snookers him even if he misses it. I think you might see him play the snooker now, though. And you might see him just glance off the red and just put the cue ball near the jaws of the pocket and block the yellow with both of the reds or one of the reds.
Those two yellows coming together. He was just giving it a concerned glance for a second, but they've fallen into a perfect plan.
Chris is also very, very good at getting out of snookers and kicking balls and potting balls out of snookers. Very good. And I expect him to get quite close with this. He is very, very knowledgeable with the angles.
Yeah, I mean, most mere mortals are just looking at the angle to hit the yellow. Chris is actually trying to work out how he can pot this ball.
Oh, definitely, yeah. He's trying to pot it.
Yeah.
Because if he doesn't pot it, he's going to lose the frame. So he's trying to go two rails and kick it into the middle. I think there's a case for going one cushion and trying to bump it towards the pocket is what I'd be playing. I'd go just after the middle, and the yellow there that's at the bottom of the white line, I'd be trying to bump that towards the pocket. Because if he gets it right, he not only gets it near the pocket, but he leaves him no first shot. See, he misses and now he loses the frame. I think he maybe missed a little bit of a trick there. I think he could have gone one cushion just after the middle, and because the cue ball would have effectively been in the middle of this back cushion. And from the middle of that back cushion, what shot have you got on reds?
Yeah, nothing.
Two options. You can play the red off the yellow and move it out of the way, or you can, depending on the angle, just pot it and then pot the red into either of the corner pockets without touching it. I think you might play both. I think you might play it off the yellow and then the other red play it through the gap of the black and the yellow into this left corner. So just drift through and land on that one into that gap, look. Phil should have an amazing six-pack, the amount of times he keeps doing those little lean backs all the time when he's not absolutely dead straight. Look, he's just another little one there. Keeps doing sit-ups standing up.
He's got a strong back, for sure. The farmer. It's all those hay bales he's been carrying around.
Look, just a little sort of little lean into it. And to be fair, that time it was justified because he did finish absolutely dead straight, so he couldn't do anything other than just drop it in. But he has got the perfect angle. Nothing with the cue ball. And if you can leave the natural angle all of the time, that's what you're trying to leave, because if you leave the natural angle, it means all you have to do is worry about the pot and then the pace that you strike the cue ball. And it is important to understand the natural angles, because if you don't leave the natural angle, which of course you're not going to all of the time, you have to then understand how you can change the line of the cue ball to obviously put it where you want it to be. So the natural angles in 8-ball are so important.
I love the precision and care that that Phil shows. He gives every shot the same amount of respect. He goes around, he looks at it from both angles just to see where the ball's going, just to see where he needs to hit it. Other faster players, Chris for example, he's down on the ball and potting it because he knows exactly where to hit it. Phil's just slightly more measured. But having that routine is essential as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. The Carl Sutton Jason Shaw game is going in 2 still, but the other way now. So Carl Sutton has won 4 in a row to go 6-4 ahead. So maybe I was right. I was priced it wrong.
Gareth Hibbett 7-2 against Ben Davis.
Dunster's 8-2 against Ben Rowland.
Yeah.
Dunster's just flying through the field at the minute. I think Mick Hill was maybe 8-3. I think that's now 8-5.
Yeah, Lakin's put a couple more on.
Jordan Church, Rob Chilton. Chilton's back in that match. It's now 7-5.
Lakin's capable if he starts to get a bit of a buzz on, then he's capable of stringing 2, 3, 4 frames together. So Mick will want to shake him off. Still got a 3-frame lead there. There's probably 4 or 5 games in that lineup that are worthy of any final. Some great games. Still loads and loads of great action to come over the weekend as well. While you are on the YouTube page, please do subscribe to the channel. That way you'll get notifications each and every time we go live.
You know, I was saying about, I think the ball's tracked directly to the pockets when you hit him a bit softer. Well, check that breakout, Nick.
Yeah.
He sort of hit that as a hard stun. And he's potted what? He's potted 3 yellows, and all 3 of them went directly into the pockets. No cannons, no nudges.
And the other thing is, how often do we see when, you get a lot of one set of balls and the other ones go awkward because there's so many reds around them. These have just gone absolutely perfect.
Not sure it mattered too much either way there, which colours he took, but it's finished perfect. And you'd take some beating if you broke like that every time you broke.
Yeah. Not a single cluster on the table. I mean, look at either set.
There's just not really anything that he has to do where that the cue ball can even go wrong, is there? I mean,
it's the kind of thing that when you want to just get your arm moving, that's how you kind of set up the balls on the table, so you can.
Even a kick can't really influence him. Okay, if he gets the biggest kick you've ever seen here, but you know that this was just sort of unmissable.
So we're going to be playing through until 10 o'clock this evening. We're going to have the, after this is losers round 4.
You see, sorry Nick, we're just showing you a replay of that break there, and you see one did get flicked, the other 2 went directly in, so 2 of the balls went directly, the other one did get nudged in. But I was just saying, when you take some pace off, the balls seem to track directly to the pockets.
Yeah.
I think when you hit it too hard, they almost sort of bump each other out of the way. They're almost sort of fighting to get into the pockets, and the balls are moving that quick that they sort of flicking each other out of the way.
Greg Marsh was was talking earlier, saying that he'd been struggling with his break, and I said, have you tried taking? Because he said, I've tried from all over the table. He said, the next time I play, he said, I'm just going to try from everywhere in the back box. And I said, have you tried taking any pace off it? And he said, no.
One thing I will say though, Nick, is, you know, when you get to a tournament, you should have already have done all of this. This is your work that should have already been done. You know, you shouldn't be playing in one of the biggest tournaments of the year, coming here thinking I'm going to try and see where I can make a ball from during the match. You know, they should all be buying these racks, and they should all be practicing with them and working out exactly what's happening.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. It's just your preparation. To be fair to Craig, he's had a broken finger and been away from the table for quite a while. But yeah, even so, it's all in the preparation.
I am surprised that nobody has sort of worked out a more of a higher percentage break, that they know when they break from a certain spot and hit the break at a certain pace, hitting the cue ball at a certain trajectory, that they get balls tracking to the middle. Chris has taken the approach of he's just trying to like put holes in the cue ball, and to be fair, he's been making a ball, but it's just every time they keep coming out a little bit awkward for him.
I can also tell you there must be a couple of games. There's another one that's not on our screen, which is Clint Hansen against Ronan McCarthy, and Clint's 5-2 up against Ronan. I was saying earlier that it's the winners round after that. Of course it's not. It's the losers round 3, which is 6:30. 8:15 will be losers round 4, and then at 10 o'clock tonight will be the winners round 3, and that'll be the conclusion of those games. Early tomorrow morning, losers round 5, losers round 6, winners qualification, losers round 7, losers qualification, and through to the finals.
I can tell you that money-making Jaeger Bomb Lakin is now back to 8-7.
Yeah, I just said he's dangerous.
I don't think he's the type of character to be worrying about who he's playing or worrying about beating anybody. He's one of them characters that doesn't really seem to care too much.
That game is across on table 11, which is one of the other stream tables. So if you want to keep an eye on that one, then
Jimmy Croxton was the man of yesterday, really. He beat Craig Marsh heavily 11-5, and then beat Carl Morris after Carl Morris beat Neil Raybone. He then beat him 11-4, which was a great day for Jimmy yesterday. I practice quite a lot with Jimmy, so I know how good he can be, but he is one of those players that is unbelievably inconsistent. He got it together yesterday, and he seems to be keeping it together today. He's 4-2 up against Dylan Leary. Clint Hansen 5-2 up against Ronan. Both of those guys good mates of mine, and I know that Clint has been having a bad time lately on the table-wise. Certainly for somebody of his standard. I do practice a little bit on the Chinese table. He comes over and plays me quite a bit, and I do rate Clint very highly. I do like the way he plays. He's very sort of methodical, and he plays... Let's rack the balls up wrong here. She needs to change the 2 end balls. But they told her about that, and she actually said it was a pretty good reply. Actually, she went, "Well, I was close." And he has been practicing a lot. Like I say, I do like Clint's game. He plays the game properly. He doesn't try and, he tries to work everything out. He doesn't clash into the balls. He has been struggling lately. Certainly his results, he sort of... Yeah, they can't really buy a win lately.
What's going on with him in money matches? I mean, he's played a few. I commentated on him versus Yannick, which he lost. I commentated on him versus Boyle, which he lost. I commentated on... Sorry, I didn't commentate on him versus Kyle, obviously, but he's lost that one recently as well. It's just not happening for him, is it?
No, it's not. It's not. And but he is practicing hard. He said he is working hard, and sometimes it just doesn't happen. But it will definitely come back for him because he is practicing hard and he's too good. for it not to. Just quickly going back to the pool here, Nick, while you were talking, I watched the break. Phil broke off from the same side, hit the break just a hard stun, and made 3 balls in the pocket again directly.
Yeah.
And look at the Reds. And on that last shot, you can see here, so the break, he hits the same break, just a little pop stun. See the cue ball just pops up in the air. The ball goes in the right middle, ball goes in the right corner, and the ball goes in the left corner. No kisses, straight in.
Yeah. He's
and look at the state of the Reds.
He seems to certainly be one of the players who's just found the place to break from and found the pace as well.
And I sort of like that. You know, Phil's the type of person that would have, you know, I know he's got a table at home, and he is the type of person that would have got one of these racks and would have spent some time breaking and working out what's happening, and he's intelligent enough to know.
Yeah, and the thing about Phil, if Phil finds something, he'll be the only one to know about it. He doesn't do social media and you know, go on there and say,
even
look at me, look what I've
no,
done.
and even if you were on social media, you'd be crazy to say anything that you'd found something. I mean, of course, people are going to see it, people can copy it, but you know, I don't think anyone would tell anyone. But you know, I don't think it's rocket science to work it out. You know, you've just got to spend some time and be willing to put the work in.
Yeah.
And look, you know, if these come out like they have done the last 2 breaks for Phil, you'd be unbeatable. Because any of the top players are not going to be missing these finishes.
Mick's won the next frame. He's now 9-7. Lakin is at the table there. And he looks like he's just, as Lakin done when he's playing quite well, he's just upped at a pace. We saw a lot of mistakes from him in his match against Shane Thompson yesterday.
Just as you said that, I think Craig has made a bit of a positional mistake there in that frame.
He just never knows when to slow down and just take an extra few seconds. And it does cost him. But maybe
one thing I will say, Nick, with players like that is if they do change the way that for what they've always known, and they do slow down and play at a pace of like a Phil Harrison, they do just end up in a complete pickle with it. It's not what they're used to.
Yeah, I was about to qualify. I mean, it does. It equally makes him the player that he is. He wouldn't be able to do what he does without that. But I think there are just times where you just need to just take an extra second.
I agree.
You can play with that and still just take that extra second.
I agree. One thing that does happen though with them sort of players, because they're not used to it, when you take a step back and you start to think about how tough the shot is, what it means if you make it, who you might beat. If you start thinking about all those players, you can sort of put yourself under pressure for no reason. I
mean, he is literally flying around the table. And I mean, I know you guys, well, you may well be watching it. It's easily possible with today's technology to watch both tables. I hope you're watching that Lakin game at the same time. Get yourself a device and stick it on, because I mean, he just played another shot where
he's played a bad shot, and now he's got a tricky 8-ball to go 9-8.
But even the shot previous to that, it got, you know, he had half a table to play into and left himself Chinese snookered.
I do actually like Craig, and to be honest, I don't really know him personally, but I do actually like him, and I do think he's the correct character for the game. There is other characters in the game that try and be characters that, for me at the minute, are not coming across properly, and it's just all too far, too much, and just not me, to be honest. But I think Craig is doing it he does it in the right way. He does sort of pull it off the way he does it. He's serious when he has to be, and ultimately, to be like that, you need to have the game to back it up.
Yeah.
And Craig has got the game to back it up.
From what I've seen him in, he's a nice guy, and he's got a good sense of humour. He's funny. He's yeah, and as you say, he's got the game to back it as well. So there you go. There's some other scores from around the room. Have a quick look at those, and we'll quickly get back to Chris breaking. Wow.
Told you again, Chris is just trying to like hack holes into the cue ball, and how well did he hit that break, by the way?
Yeah, absolutely beautifully, and the white's just gone straight up in the air.
And look at him, you know, he's hit that literally 3 times the pace that Phil's breaking. He's only made 1 ball, and they're scrappy.
It's funny that
they are scrappy.
Yeah, But it's funny. I mean, he sat watching film, what Phil's doing, but he's and said himself on commentary yesterday
and
that
I've
maybe
had,
that's the way to do
and
it.
I've had the conversation with him as well about it. So you know, I mean, I totally agree that you know it's crazy really when you can see something working from somebody else. But it's not as though he hasn't been potting a ball, to be fair. It's just that when he does make one, they are coming out scrappy.
And I can tell you that Lakin at now one behind, and McHill's broken dry. There's Lakin back at the table again.
Yellows look easy, I can tell you as well, but he's got no easy first shot. Whoever pots the first yellow, I think wins the frame, but he's got no easy first one. And while having said that, Chris is sort of digging himself a little bit of a hole here. And to be honest, I feel for him a little bit, just because he has had the worst set of balls every frame. He's had to go for the harder set of balls. He's had to go for finishes he doesn't want to go for. And it does happen like that sometimes.
Yep.
It's not meant to be. It's not meant to be. But it did all come from probably the 4 mistakes he made in the first 4 frames, where he could have been 4-0 up and he was 4-0 down, and then the match just sort of turned on its head for him, really. Phil's been faultless, really. He hasn't done nothing special, but he hasn't had to. Everything he's had to do, he's done, and he's been clinical.
So Lakin was forced to go for reds in that frame. So we'll just keep an eye on the conclusion of that game.
I say Chris is sort of gradually digging himself a hole. Phil's now like the nodding dog. But the reason he was shaking his head there, Phil, is because if he slides past that red, then he's got absolutely no shot. Where now he's kissed it, he has got a shot where he can pot this and land on the other ball into the corner or into the middle. Perfect.
It shows something about Phil's character and how much he wants to win when he's 9-3 up and he's shaking his head because his opponent gets a little bit of fortune.
But you know, I do understand that. You know, he understands who he's playing against.
Yeah.
He understands that he's playing against Chris Melling, and he understands that 9-3 isn't safe.
Yeah, he wants to hammer the final nail in the coffin.
This is another bad shot from Chris. He needed another sort of 6 inches on the cue ball here because he's left himself straight and bridging. That's all he could do with it. He potted the red into the right side of the pocket to create a little bit of an angle. The black does go comfortably, and you won't be missing this. Chris has actually, the 4 frames that Chris has won, I think 3 of the frames that he's won, the finishes he's got, have actually been brilliant. And it's gone off. Apologies for that. They were just telling us that a couple of the cameras are frozen. There is still, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 camera angles you've got. It's just a couple there that have frozen. And on the one that has frozen there, you can see how long Melling's backswing is. I don't know if you've seen that frozen shot there, but you can see that it's paused right at the top of Melling's backswing.
Frame 14, filter break.
Oh, sorry, you're not seeing that. Let's check out the break again here from Phil. The same place, just like a hard pop stun. One went directly into the middle.
Seemed to be just a touch more pace on that.
There was a touch more pace, yeah. But what I think happens there is you naturally sort of instinctively want to do that. And the adrenaline, of course, when you're playing a big match and it's getting towards the end.
So I think we were talking yesterday about Chris's new. I don't know. It wasn't with you actually. We were talking about Chris's new tattoos that he's got down his left arm, and because he's got like a roulette wheel with a world inside it, and the significance of all the tattoos you can see on his left arm. It's all the places that he's significant to him in pool. Maybe we can just get a shot on that. There we go. So you can see the dice and the roulette wheel from Vegas, and he's got the Statue of Liberty for New York. He's got the Great Wall of China, I think. He's got the gangsters of Brooklyn. So these are the places that are all significant. It's a work in progress, so it all needs filling in and colouring in. But
Can't believe he didn't have the Eiffel Tower from Blackpool on there.
yeah, absolutely.
Can tell you that money making, Jaeger bomb, drinking, laking is 9 each, and he has just potted a ball out of a snooker, and then potted another ball into the middle and cannoned the black and landed dead straight on it into the middle.
Oh, what a great shot he just played there as well, wasn't it? Hey, that was fantastic.
So from what was I think 8-3 there is now 9-all. Carl Sutton now 9-5. Jordan Church pulled away again. As I said, he does have huge firepower, Jordan, when he gets going.
Ronan McCarthy is fighting back. He's 6-4 now against Clint.
Jimmy Croxton's score is still showing 4-2, but that can't possibly be true. They must have a problem with their computer, or they haven't been putting the scores on.
Yannick Bofi's, he was trailing Craig Brown. He's now 6-5 up. Come on, Yannick.
Adam Davies, I think, has just won.
Yannick's the Beard Productions horse, so we're cheering him on. So yeah, a couple of players on the hill. Jordan Church on the hill, Stevie Dempsey on the hill.
Mick not quite on the hill.
Jordan Church is a super character as well. I really enjoy commentating with him. Very, very funny man. He's quite a character.
Yeah, I grew up through the juniors with Jordan, and I grew up playing through the junior England team with his dad, Les, as the junior manager, and he was good to me over the junior years. Haven't seen him for a long time, but if you're watching or listening, Les, I hope you're well.
So in that other game, Mick Brokoff made a ball, and he's got fairly simple, well, fairly makeable clearance. It's just about cue ball control. Looks like all the balls have got a pocket. I mean, whatever the result in that game, it's been a brilliant fight back from Craig Lakin. He looked to be dead and gone. If he could have found that form earlier in the match, he would. Mick would have a real battle on his hands. As it is, he does anyway. But
another clinical finish from Phil. Had the cue ball on a penny almost every single shot.
Phil Harrison's on the hill against Chris Melling. Mick Hill, 3 balls away from going on the hill. He's got down and got back up on a shot about 3 or 4 times now. He's uncomfortable. He's just got up again for the 5th time. Either that or my phone's stuck on a loop. So Mick broke down in that clearance.
Yeah, he broke down. I was watching it on the phone. He broke down and actually got really lucky because the ball that he missed ended up covering the black. That's meant that Craig's had to play a safety shot. You see, that time he absolutely leathered him, and he didn't make a ball. And to be honest, Chris is moaning about it and he's shaking his head, but it's his own fault. He needs to look at what's happening and what Phil's doing, and at the pace that he's hitting it and where he's breaking from, and he needs to learn from it. You can't just keep leathering him 100 mile an hour when you're not having the success from it. You have to change it.
And he looks quite quizzical, almost as if to say, how unlucky am I? But it's, as you say, he could easily have learnt. Well, Mick's gone for quite an audacious shot there in that other game, and it could have been a lot worse for him. He could have the red he went for could have cleared the black out. Craig Lakin has just played a great shot to develop the black, and he has that frame at his mercy to take the lead 10
He's
frames
actually
to
been
9.
a little bit unlucky where the black's gone, because it's blocked one of the easy yellows into the middle, which means he's going to have to take it long now. It'll be interesting, I said, to see how Craig handles this, because he's been behind, and when you're so far behind in a match, you know, like 8-3, you almost just give up, or not give up, but you almost just think, well, realistically, I'm not going to win the match now. You can relax. Now he's got back to 9 each. The pressure almost reverses back, because you now start to think you can win again.
Yeah.
And I did say I didn't think it'd affect Craig just because of the character that he is, and but he has just played a pretty bad shot there, and I did wonder how he'd cope with seeing the winning line.
Anyway, you do wonder in the Harrison Melling game whether Phil has played his final part in this winner's side. You can't see any mistakes coming from Phil. He has been the perfect professional throughout this. Absolutely, I've used the word so many times, but you can only really call it clinical.
He has been clinical. A lot of the finishes he's had, in all fairness, have been sort of quite dot to dot, really, but he has been very clinical. Craig Lakin has just played a really good shot to get on his last ball. He's now 10-9 ahead.
He's made a really good clearance there as well.
Carl
really
Sutton, sorry Nick, Carl Sutton is now on the hill, 10-5 against Shaw.
Oh wow, I said no mistakes from Phil, but goodness, that one almost got away.
I think he's just okay, Nick. He's
Yeah.
he's on the bottom one.
He is, yeah. It looked like it was tracking down to sit behind that black just for a second. I think there was, you can see an absolute pile of finger marks just above the yellow. It seemed to just move a shade to the left as it tracked down the table. So, arguably, one of the biggest breaks that Craig Lakin's going to have in a tournament at 10 frames to 9 to kick 3-1 hot favourite for this event over into the losers section.
I think it's Mick's break, Nick.
Is it Mick?
Yeah.
Oh
I
yes, it
think
is. I
Mick's
beg your
break,
pardon.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, Lakin's done the right thing. He's put his cue on the table and gone for a bathroom break just to compose himself.
Maybe gone for a Jaeger bomb also.
It wouldn't surprise me in the slightest. So, we did indeed see a mistake from Phil. And, yeah, again, Chris, he had to try and move that red. The yellow pocket, the yellow's covering the bag below, so just found the wrong angle though.
And tell you that Mick's just broke off, made a ball, and I think he's got tap-ins to go 10 each, so I do think Craig is gonna after break
Yep.
and win the match himself. I don't think he's going to get given it. Chris has tried to leave the other angle here to kick the ball off the rail and left himself a little bit too thin this time. The other time he was too thick, this time was too thin. And if he isn't on that bottom one, that just sums up Chris's day. But having said that, I will say that the cue ball has been sort of travelling all around the world on most of these finishes.
Yeah.
And you made a point earlier, Nick, about if you could sort of measure the amount of the distance that the cue ball travels on one of Phil Harrison's matches, or certainly this match, and compared to how the cue ball travels with someone like Chris. And I think in this
Hundreds of meters of difference.
You might find that it's over twice the distance. Yeah.
There's another shot here. He's going to cover some. Yeah, so he's just going to take the double, but
it's perfect.
Yeah, he is. Yeah. Nope.
Oh, so careless.
Yeah.
So careless. I mean, 10-5. It's not over, is it?
No, not at all.
It is now. And you have to say, other than the couple of the edgy little start and maybe the odd shot in the middle of the match somewhere, but it's been pretty faultless from Phil. He's done what he had to do. Like I said, a lot of the finishes I think were there, but they still have to be potted. They don't pot themselves. And Phil didn't really arrive at the first event, so he lost quite early, but he's definitely arrived at this event.
He certainly has, yeah. People kept asking me who I fancied before this event started, and I said just for the pure value of the fact you're getting 12-1 against Mick Hill's 3-1. I mean, it's kind of playing out here, isn't it? I mean, Phil has breezed past Chris Melling, and Mick Hill is struggling against Craig Lakin. Well, here's your money on now. Phil looking so good at the moment, so comfortable in his game, and who put it past him to make the final. We'll be back with a losers round match in about 25 minutes. We'll see you then. Thanks very much, Gaz.
Okay, thanks, Nick.
I don't know whether there's going to be an interview. Yeah, it sounds like there probably is. They're going to take Phil in and do an interview with him. Always interesting to hear from Phil, so stick around for that one. So that interview, we're just going to delay it for a couple of minutes. We're going to wait until the conclusion of the Craig Lakin and Mick Hill game, and then we're going to get Phil in with the winner of that game. So stick around for that interview.
Right, okay, two of the greats of the game sat with me now. First of all, Phil, a good win there over a great player, Chris Melling. How do you think it went for you?
Oh, well, I think the balls went for me a little bit, really. I had a couple of free breaks early on and he couldn't really do a lot. And you know what Chris is like, he's got to have a go, and he's broke down a few times and I've just rolled him in. So it was a good start for me and it settled me down, and then it went on for the rest of the match, really.
So you were happy just to let him chase a few of the finishes?
Yeah.
So that was your tactic before the match?
I wasn't about that, but I was expecting Chris to pot everything as you do when you're playing, but he did make a few mistakes, and I was able to roll.
That's what you get with Chris, and he's a great player.
Yeah,
but obviously you're a great player as well. But you know, if he's on, you've got to grab him by the tail. But if he misses, you've got to take his chances
still a
on him.
phenomenal potter.
Fantastic player.
Still, just watching him, you know, when he's potting, it's just frightening potter, and you just think sometimes there you beat him.
But for yourself, for what I could see, you didn't really do much wrong. You played solid match
I
play.
kept the cue ball pretty good, and as long as I keep close to the balls, I'm happy. If I start leaving them long and I'm struggling, but
Is that age?
yeah, age.
Okay, well done. Good for you win. And Mick, you had a bit of a scare there. You was 8-2 up against Craig Lakin and ended up being a deciding frame win.
Well, it's weird because, like, obviously, what we were saying the other day, sometimes you can't. I've basically kind of come from the hotel room, pretty much walked in, lagged off, miss-hit it kind of thing. I thought, oh, here we go. And then he's broke, sort of got nothing. I think I've cleared, and then I've broke. I thought, I feel really good today. Really kind of. I just felt it. You know what I mean? Sometimes you feel like that, and I've gone like kind of, I don't know, 3-1, 4-1, 5. Anyway, I'm sort of 8-2, and. Not that the break changed, but the game sort of changed where I thought, I know he likes to have a go. I'm sort of dangling the carrot when I can maybe have a dip myself. But obviously the scoreboard, doesn't warrant me having a go when I don't really have to. And he's knocked in like 2 or 3 really, really good ones where I'm thinking, I've dangled you the carrot there, fair play type thing. And then there was a massive turning point at 8-4 where I'd knocked a really good finish in. And because obviously, people that know me realise I've got a bit of OCD with this game these days, where I've got to be perfect all the time, and kind of, I feel over the last sort of 3 or 4 years, I've started to play the game because I want to play the game to try and master the game. So I'm almost like not that fussed about winning. I know that sounds crazy, but I want to play the game how I think the game should be played, and I want to take the balls in the exact order that I've chose them, and I want to put the white where I want to do that. So I feel like I've got a little bit of OCD with it, and it's kicked in at 8-4 because I've sort of landed a little bit awkward, but it's no big hardship when I've tried to manipulate something to get somewhere where I didn't even need to be and missed it. And you're 8-5, 8-6, 8-7, blah blah blah. Anyway, sort of 10-9. I've made a ball. I've run out 10-10, and then the pool gods have basically decided that it's my turn to win today because
a dry break and left you a good chance.
They had a dry break of tennis. To be honest, I probably couldn't have missed them if I turned the cue the other way. So it was one of them days where the pool gods were saying, "Well, you're supposed to win today," kind of thing.
But you know about how you look at the game. If you look how Craig plays, he's all momentum, and he likes to just take the ball by the horns, and that could be frightening in a match when he's coming back at you.
I think what's happened these days, I think when I first started playing, obviously I looked at you two, I looked at Brewer, Greg Farron, Appleton, Morris, if you like, Chilton, obviously being from the same place. And it was almost safety first. You had a ball down the rail, it was almost like, in or over, that'll do. And you were almost like wanting these sort of slug breaks so you could play pool and get involved in everything else. Control. And I think because these lads never played the old rules, they've only got the mentality of attack, 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 attack. Now, sometimes it's their biggest downfall, probably more so at world rules than black ball rules. But because they're so like kind of confident that every cannon that they make is going to come out, in some cases for us, the knowledge and the experience is actually a negative because we see the things that can go wrong. These lads that have like sort of never played the old rules, they don't believe that anything's going wrong when they go into them. And once they get on a roll, they're very, very, very hard to stop. However, having said that, I think if you were to play over 20 events, I think when you've paid your apprenticeship and you've got your school fees from playing the old rules, and like yourself and Keith and whoever else from the previous generation, if you like, I think that stands you in maybe good stead over a career. But on their day, the likes of your Lakins, Jordan Church, Chipperfield, Cousin, that type of players can just blow you away.
Yeah, I think what you're saying is, you talk about people's B game because of the knowledge you build up over the years. You won many a tournament yourself where you've not played your A game and your knowledge is so vast, your B game is good enough to win it with your talent. And if you agree with that.
But well, you know, if you're asking me, I mean, you know, the rack's great in the sense of you both get in the same rack, that's great. If you said to me, do you want to use this new rack or do you want to use the triangle, give me the triangle, because I want a lot of clusters in frames as well, because obviously I feel like I'm from that generation learning from you blokes. I don't know what Phil's view is on that.
I think with the rack, you're playing a game of how we see it. It's a game of pool sort of thing, but today's game, it's just so much different, and it is more. I don't know what it is, but it's just so much more open with this Magic rack.
But that's good for people watching.
Well,
and if we're ever going to get any money in the game,
you know what I mean? I think
that's what you
for
want.
someone like Craig Lakin and Tom Cousins and that, you know.
I personally think for Tom, it's a disadvantage because he's got such a big break.
Yeah.
He's probably got an extra 20% power and control than anybody bar Mick, probably one of the big breakers as well. But Tom's break's massive, so I think that's a leveler for him.
Yeah.
But you know, in other matches, there's people like Rowan McCarthy's not the biggest breaker. Mark Farnes is not the biggest breaker.
No.
That brings them closer to you guys. You know,
Yeah,
when,
it does. Yeah.
so.
I think the story's in the first event, because you've basically got two predominantly known as, I don't like all this rule set thing, but they are predominantly black ball players who've played hardly any world rules at all, whereas there are lots of players on the IPA tour that have all played loads of world rules before it ever went black ball. So for the likes of Gillespie and Dunster to get to the final, I mean, I didn't play the first event, but I saw the result, and I thought there couldn't have been too many tactical frames in their matches, because in their defence, they wouldn't have any idea how to play tactic at world rules.
No,
so
I think Dunster did pick it up for what I could see. He seems a switched on guy with tactical wise. I think he plays a little bit of that way in the black ball, but certainly Scott Gillespie, he needed an open match to, and he went on to win that way, I think.
Yeah.
But
Good performance.
Thanks guys, great performance. You're through in the winner's side against tough opponents, and we'll see who you get in the next rounds.
cheers.
Okay,
Cheers, Lee.
thanks very much. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll be on with the next session shortly.